because long before the poison, Jim Jones was the ultimate symbol of hope. He championed a concept he called apostolic socialism, which the sources describe as a fusion of early Christian communal sharing and Marxist equality.
Right, blending those two ideologies.
And just to be completely clear to you listening, we are impartially exploring Jones's rhetoric here. We're looking at how he used these political and religious concepts as tools to gather a following. We are definitely not endorsing the ideologies themselves.
Right, it's about his methods, not the politics.
Exactly. He presented a utopian vision, and crucially, he backed it up with sweat equity.
He really did put the work in early on.
The sources note he funded his early church by going door to door selling imported monkeys from India for $29 each.
Selling monkeys door to door, it's wild.
Literally $29 monkeys. And he took that monkey money and used it to open free soup kitchens.
He established an employment assistance center.
He ran a home for senior citizens that state inspectors reportedly said was nicer and cleaner than Jones's own personal residence.
To the outside world, he was a tireless, unimpeachable champion of the downtrodden.
Here's where it gets really interesting, though.
He created what he proudly called his rainbow family.
The adoptions.
Yes. Jones and his wife, Marceline, adopted Black, Korean, and Native American children. In 1961, they were actually the first white couple to adopt a Black child in the state of Indiana.
In 1961. Think about the cultural context of that action.
Yeah.
In a state with a massive KKK presence.
It was virtually unheard of. It was highly controversial, and honestly, it was physically dangerous for them.
But he actively fought segregation.
He did. He integrated his church. He would organize these sting operations, sending Black members into restaurants or barbershops he knew were segregated.
Oh, to test them.
Yeah, and when they were refused service, he would flood the establishment with white and Black members, catching the owners out, and then publicly shaming them in the local press.
Oh, so to his followers, he didn't look like a monster in the making. He looked like a living incarnation of the civil rights movement.
In fact, he even received a Martin Luther King Jr. Humanitarian Award in 1977.
But here's where the historical record gives you whiplash.
Yeah, the dark side of the history.
We have this man performing incredibly brave civil rights actions, integrating hospitals, adopting children. Yet the exact same sources reveal that as a child, Jim Jones held mock funerals for dead roadkill.
Yeah.
He killed a cat with a knife. He forced neighborhood kids to goose-step like Hitler in a field, locking them in a barn if they didn't obey.
It's a staggering contrast.
How do those two dramatically opposing realities exist in the exact same person? Like, how does a childhood tyrant become a celebrated civil rights leader?
The key to unlocking that contradiction lies in understanding the pathology of the dark triad personality.
The dark triad.
Yes. It's a clinical psychological framework encompassing 3 distinct malevolent personality traits.
Okay, what are they?
First is narcissism, which is a grandiose sense of self-importance and an obsessive need for admiration.
Check.
Second is Machiavellianism, which is a manipulative, strategic exploitation of others with just a cynical disregard for morality.
Definitely check.
And third is psychopathy, characterized by impulsivity, thrill-seeking, and a profound lack of effective empathy or remorse.
So he had all 3.
He exhibited all 3 perfectly. If we examine his early life in the sources, Jim was deeply neglected by his mother, Lynetta.
Right. The sources had a lot to say about her.
She was a very eccentric, detached woman who genuinely believed she was the reincarnation of a great author.
Wait, she thought she was a reincarnated author.
Yes. And she instilled in Jim this bizarre, grandiose sense of destiny while simultaneously leaving him to wander the streets of their small town completely alone, unbathed, and unfed.
So he was basically a neglected outcast who was told he was a god.
Exactly.
That is a terrifying psychological cocktail.
Precisely. Because he was an outcast with 0 social power, he learned early on to study and emulate powerful figures. The sources note he obsessively read about Adolf Hitler, Joseph Stalin, and a highly successful, controversial religious cult leader named Father Divine.
But he wasn't studying their politics, right?
No, not for their specific political ideologies. He was studying their mechanics. He was studying exactly how they captivated and controlled crowds.
How to build power.
Yes. He possessed what psychologists call cognitive empathy, which is the intellectual ability to understand what other people are feeling and thinking.
Okay.
But he completely lacked effective empathy, the ability to actually care or feel compassion for them.
Meaning the civil rights work, the soup kitchens, the adoptions. It was all just a calculated manipulation. A performance.
It was the ultimate weaponization of empathy. Jones was incredibly adept at reading the room of society.
He saw what people needed.
He saw the intense racial tension in the country, he saw the crushing poverty, he saw the fear of nuclear war, and he realized that championing those specific noble causes was the most effective, unassailable way to gather a fiercely loyal, desperate following.
Because nobody questions the motives of a man running a free senior citizen home.
Right. He didn't build a church to help people, he helped people to build an army that he could completely control.
So he's built this utopia on the surface, but a utopia funded by selling monkeys and built on absolute unquestioning trust is incredibly fragile.
Very fragile.
To keep them from realizing the cracks in the foundation, Jones couldn't just rely on their goodwill anymore. He had to break their grip on reality.
He had to introduce the deception.
And he started doing that with the most theatrical lies possible. Jones was systematically, structurally, dismantling their independence.
Step by step.
Financial control is always step one in high-control groups. The sources detail how he demanded followers sign over their assets, their homes, their life savings, and eventually, their daily paychecks.
He essentially bankrupted his own followers to enrich the church.
He literally became one of the largest property owners in San Francisco at one point because members were just deeding him their houses.
Which creates an incredible trap.
Right. If you suddenly woke up and decided you wanted to leave the church, you'd be stepping out onto the street entirely penniless with no safety net whatsoever.
He cornered them financially, and then he cornered them biologically. He took control of their physical bodies.
The Elvis diet.
Yes. The sources describe the grueling, punishing schedule he enforced, fueled by what the congregation grimly called the Elvis diet.
Because it was just drugs.
Because they were working demanding outside jobs to bring money into the church, and then required to attend marathon church services and meetings that lasted until 3 or 4 in the morning.
Every day.
Pretty much. The entire congregation was chronically exhausted. So, Jones supplied amphetamines uppers to keep them awake and working, and barbiturates downers to force them to sleep for the few hours they were allowed.
And the physiological impact of that is just devastating. Sleep deprivation isn't just about feeling tired. It fundamentally alters brain function.
It completely degrades your mental defenses.
When you are severely sleep deprived, especially chemically induced, your prefrontal cortex, the part of the brain responsible for logic, critical analysis, and future planning, essentially goes offline.
You lose the ability to critically analyze the information you are receiving.
Meanwhile, your amygdala, the emotional fear processing center, becomes hyperactive. It makes you highly suggestible, emotionally volatile, and totally reliant on the leader for reality testing. You are literally too exhausted to mount a mental defense.
Precisely. You dismantle the bank account, you dismantle the brain's defense mechanisms, and then you dismantle their interpersonal support systems.
He went after their relationships.
He had to. A high-control leader cannot tolerate divided loyalty. He controlled who they could marry. He forced couples to divorce if he felt they were too close to each other and not close enough to him.
That is so deeply insidious.
He dictated who could have sex and with whom. He even forced members to write false, highly incriminating confessions about themselves.
Wait, false confessions?
Yeah, admitting to horrific illegal acts like molesting their own children or plotting terrorism. And he made them hand these over to the church leadership, so he had permanent, devastating blackmail on everyone.
He owned their reputations, too.
He demanded that everyone call him daddy or father, completely overriding their biological families. He even started mocking traditional religion, throwing the Bible on the floor, calling the Christian God the sky god.
He wanted to be the only God.
He literally told his followers, if you see me as your God, I'll be your God.
So he systematically replaced every pillar of their identity, their money, their energy, their family, their faith, with himself.
All roads led to Jim Jones.
And to solidify that total dependency, he cultivated a ferocious, paranoid, us versus them mentality.
The outside world became the enemy.
Exactly. He convinced his sleep-deprived, isolated followers that the outside world wasn't just flawed or capitalist, it was actively hunting them.
He used the KKK, the media, and the U.S. government as constant looming bogeymen.
He even faked his own assassinations to prove the threat was real.
Those theatrical setups were wild.
He would arrange for a loyalist to shoot blanks at him during a service. He would pretend to be hit, collapse, and then miraculously heal himself in front of the screaming congregation, showing off this blood-soaked shirt.
Just unbelievable theater.
It proved to them two things simultaneously. One, that he was a divine martyr who could overcome death, and two, that the outside world was violently trying to stop their movement of equality.
And if you truly believe the world is violently trying to murder your family and your savior, the only logical next step is to flee.
You have to run.
You cannot stay in the hostile territory.